Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Here's Paul Suellentrop from GoShockers.com, Wichita State Strategic Communications. He's recently, of course, he does a lot of work every day for GoShockers.com. Podcasts, writing. It's amazing what you've become, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for mentioning that. We're all working hard for the taxpayers of the great state of Kansas here at Wichita State University, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
No question. So you recently kind of went through the highlights of the 2023-24 school year. Give us a taste of what caught your attention.
What caught my attention? Well, we within a university, when you have 15 varsity sports, you're always going to have lots of highlights. You're always going to have some lows. So I have a algorithm where I calculate things and went through the whole school year trying to pick out the highlights. I think we leaned toward individual accomplishments this year at Wichita State. For example, I had Addie Barnard, softball, her entire career, and then she put a big old highlight on it at the end in the conference tournament. She was number 1, Destiny Masters, All-American in the multi-events, indoor and outdoor, NCAA, same with high jump. She was number 2. And then as you go down the list, Wichita State's adding women's bowling. That's a big deal for the bowling program and for the athletic department. That was on the list. Volleyball winning the postseason tournament. The NIVC is on the list. So it's just kind of a look back at what went on at Wichita State and what were the highlights.
You've got basketball number 4, building on late season success. They went on a little mini run at the end of the season and in the conference tournament. Does that portend things to come, do you believe, for the men's basketball program this season? Could they rank even higher? Did I use portend right is the next question.
Portend is a good word. You mean, do I think they will rank higher next year in this list?
Yeah.
Boy, that would be great. And I guess I think they certainly could. And this is where, you're making these lists and you're always part of the fun of it is debating and discussing. And, the men's basketball season was not a great season. They finished strong, but there's intense interest in men's basketball. So in my mind, that I would bump them up on a list like that, winning at UAB late in the season and then beating Memphis in the conference tournament, that got a lot of people excited. A lot of people follow Shocker basketball. So that would move them up in this kind of rankings over maybe a sport that doesn't have as high a profile with that. But yeah, I think I've been watching some practices this summer with the Shockers, and I think the vibe is that they've got 8 people returning, which seems like a pretty good number in this current era. The people that want to be here are here. I think they feel like practices are really competitive. Paul Mills has had now a year to recruit and shape the roster and understand the competition in the American Athletic Conference. So you would think those are all pluses and would start to pay off.
Paul Suellentrop, our guest. He's been around Wichita State athletics as a beat writer first at the Wichita Eagle for many years and now in Wichita State strategic communications staff. So you've been spending some time talking to some of these newcomers in men's basketball. What are your impressions?
I talked to 4 and did a podcast interview with 4 of the newcomers: Corey Washington, Zane Meeks, AJ McInnes, and Justin Hill. I guess the one thing that was really interesting, I asked all of them greatest NBA player. They all went with LeBron James over Michael Jordan, which is kind of a shift over the years. I would guess that's generational, but they all immediately answered LeBron. and several of them said that the game has changed, and they feel like LeBron is playing in a tougher era of NBA basketball. So I thought that was interesting. From a Shocker perspective,
that's just ridiculous. I hope you called them out on it on the podcast.
Tougher.
I delved into that. I wanted to know more about why they thought that way. From a Shocker perspective, I think several of them answered what they liked about the team or their early impressions of practices, and they've been at it for a couple weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks. I think they all like the amount of experience on this team. There's a lot of seniors. There's a lot of people who have been through a lot of college basketball, so I think that has stuck out early in practice to them, that they feel like it's a mature, both mentally and physically team, that there's guys who know how to play college basketball. Several of them talked about Paul Mills and what they enjoy about his approach from, how did he recruit them here and what's it been like being around him in practice. And, of course, they mentioned the things that we've started to learn about Paul, being detail-oriented, the offense, the spacing, how he likes things run. So those were probably two of the things that jumped out to me as far as kind of themes through the 4 interviews.
So you had a couple moments, obviously dedicated to softball. You mentioned Addie Barnard. We always get that.
I thought you had that.
Yeah, usually I do. We missed it this time, and how great her career was, maybe the second greatest career in Shocker softball history, and CeCe Wong winning Player of the Year in the conference. Both of those players are seniors. Obviously, Sydney McKinney is no longer there. Does the softball team have a next real big star looming on the horizon, or is it going to be a team-wide approach kind of thing?
I would think it would be a little more team-wide. Losing those kind of athletes is pretty significant. CeCe Wong was only here for a year, but, boy, just had an incredible year. And I don't think they're done, adding and recruiting with the transfer portal, so I would expect we'll probably see some additions. They do get Lauren Lucas back, and I believe she was third-team All-American 2 years ago and then got hurt, so she didn't play, and I think she led them in RBIs 2 years ago, so she's an excellent player. Taylor Slodchek has really made progress both of her years. She'll be a junior. Saying that someone's, again, with Sydney McKinney and Addison Barnard, those are two really high goals to set. So maybe a little bit more like maybe it was in 2018, where it was more up and down the lineup kind of a thing, as opposed to having, just kind of first team, second team All-Americans.
Final moments here with Paul Suellentrop from Wichita State Strategic Communications. You and I have talked about Shocker athletics for a long time. We've always felt like women's basketball could be a sleeping giant, although it hasn't been awakened very often. Is there hope for women's basketball? Do you think Terry Nooner is on the right track?
I do. And I think that, I guess when I think about the athletic program overall, and women's basketball to be part of this, is there's been such transition over the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and now we're going to get a chance to see what do programs look like with stability, both in the coaching staff, but in athletic director, and even at the in the president's office at Wichita State. So Terry Nooner would obviously be a part of that. They bring back a lot of people from last year, which again feels pretty good in this current climate. They kind of like the men, had their ups, had their downs, and you've got to trust that he can. He's the coach that can pull them together. Second year, he's had time to recruit. He'll have a returning core that knows how he likes things run, and that's where they are. But yeah, you and I have had that conversation many times. There's a lot of basketball fans in this area, and if you can find a way to capture them, that would seem to be a big plus in an area where Wichita State could really make some headway.
All right, Paul, as always, we appreciate it. Have you had your I know you were either on your way to or on your way home from Arkansas. Have you had your summer excursion?
Went down to Arkansas over the 4th of July to hang out on the lake and do all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, it was a good time. Beautiful state.
All right. Thanks, Paul. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.